Alright, hi there, this is Steven with Karma Astrology. I'm coming to you live from Santa Fe, New Mexico, and today is April 30th. It is Friday, April 30th at 11 a.m. here in Santa Fe, Mountain Time Zone, Denver Time Zone. And I'm doing this daily astrology forecast so that you can understand what the energy of the day is, what auspicious activities you can do on a day like today, and inauspicious activities, kind of favorable activities and unfavorable activities, as well as just the general mood or vibe of the day. And that's going to be based on the moon. And the reason I do that is because the moon is the fastest moving object in our solar system, the big object. Excuse me. And the moon shows our sensitivity through our feelings and emotions and our ability to connect with other people. So it's very, very close to our heart. It's our basic psychology in a lot of ways. So we look at the moon to see what our mood is in a lot of ways. That's why mood and moon are only one letter off. So today, excuse me, the moon has switched over. It's down here. It's a little hard. There we go. So the moon is that MO down in the corner, and that's in the sign of Sagittarius, as you can see that SAG down below the moon. What that means is that the moon is transited into Sagittarius. It's going to be there for about 2.5 days. That's how long it takes for the moon to go through a sign. And the Sagittarius is a really friendly sign to the moon, actually. So it shows a general sense of optimism and expanded awareness and hopefulness, and these kind of Jupiterian principles, as Jupiter is the planet associated with Sagittarius. It's its masculine side. Sagittarius is a fire sign, so it deals with where we're passionate, where we like to be right or wrong, to really delineate right from wrong and be clear and kind of find this sense of expansion through our sense of discrimination or discernment, that right and wrong, ability to quantify and qualify things, but in order to expand and connect with the greater picture. Morning, Queen of Wands. Thanks for joining me here today. If you have any questions, just let me know. Otherwise, I'm just gonna keep going. So yeah, when the moon comes into Sagittarius, we feel a little more expansive in our feelings and our heart. We might feel like connecting with more people or more optimistic about connecting with people. We might be feeling happier in general, hopefully. Sagittarius tends to bring on more joy into our lives as well, which is really lovely. But this beginning part of Sagittarius is actually in the nakshatra of Mula. So Mula or the nakshatras in general, are the 27 Vedic constellation. Oh, great. Sounds good. glad you're joining me. It's nice to have someone here in person. Hi there. Nice to see you, Shashan. And so basically, in general, when the moon... Well, let's go back. So the nakshatras are 27 constellations that overlay the 12 constellations that most of us in the West are more familiar with. That kind of Mesopotamian zodiac. With the Vedic zodiac, or the Indus River Valley civilization zodiac. Indus River Valley is in the middle of Pakistan, and that whole culture spread over into India, and became what we know as kind of Hinduism in a way today. But they use the ancient Sanskrit language, and they had their own version of astrology, in which they incorporated astrology as it moved through Persia, next door, and from Mesopotamia and all sorts of Egypt and Greece. Sure, yeah, feel free to answer questions. Someone asked if they can answer questions. I think it's Shashan or Shasan, either way. I hope I pronounced that correctly, one of those ways. But yeah, feel free. But in general, just try and make it about like the day rather than a personal question about your horoscope in particular. So the moon is in Mula Nakshatra, or the very beginning of Sagittarius. As you can see down there, that MUL stands for Mula, after the moon. And that's this beginning section. It's about 13 degrees and 20 minutes. It's exactly 13 degrees and 20 minutes. And it shows this, Mula means the root or root. So it's really about getting to foundational principles and these very underlying kind of base effects and anything that's very foundational, structural by nature. So some like our principles and our values in a lot of ways are related to Mula, and especially because Mula is in the Sagittarius sign of Sagittarius, and Sagittarius is about what gives us meaning and hope and a sense of expansion. It shows that our principles and our values are ways that we, and our beliefs in a lot of ways, are ways that we kind of expand that perspective and find a sense of meaning, especially on a day like today. So this might be about getting to the core of your values, your principles, what matters to you. It's going to be a little different based on what house it's in your chart. It might be, and if it's in the 7th house, it's more about how other people's values influence your life, or the root of, someone else's issues, maybe your siblings. Maybe if you're a Sagittarius rising, then this is really for you on the day like today when the moon is in there. Thanks, Queen. If you're interested, if someone asks about prediction, feel free to check out my homepage of my YouTube, and you can sign up for a session with me or do a free session to see what I can do for you. But in general, these are kind of like to give everyone an idea of what we're working with on a day like today, so we're all prepared and we can take advantage of the celestial energy as we see it. So Mula, the root, is associated with the goddess Kali or Durga. So Kali, if you don't know, is this kind of fierce mother goddess who's got very, very dark skin. Nowadays, she's depicted as, in the Western world, as kind of this beautiful, sexy, light blue skinned woman, but she's really Kali, or Kala means time, and Kal, I think it means darkness. So she's supposed to have this very, very dark blue skin. And she has a head, like skulls, as a necklace, as a garland around her neck. She has a string of skulls that are very, it's a very kind of scary looking goddess. And her tongue is like hanging out, and, really she's holding a scepter, or she's holding a scythe in her hand, and it's like dripping with blood. And she has her foot on Shiva, actually. It's a whole story behind that, and I'm not going to get too into that, but the idea is that she's a very fierce, protective mother goddess. So this energy of Mula is associated with protection, with this sense of getting to the core and just the base of the universe in a lot of ways. Mula actually points directly to the center of our galaxy. So it's the root of the energy in our galaxy, and it's all these stars and all the energy from all those collective stars that are coming at us and that are kind of being projected at us, and the moon acts as a lens to kind of influence us with that energy, and whatever planets kind of go through that sign will really show their influence. So this is about, today can be a very fierce day. People can be fiercely protective of those who they love and their principles and their values, getting back to that Sagittarius theme. So look for that in yourself. If you're feeling a little ungrounded, it's a good day to connect with kind of these divine protective mother figures on a day like today, if you have one in your life, or if you happen to be a mother figure in somebody's life. It's a great day to, show this sense of protection and care through, because moms can be gentle and sweet, and they can be fierce and intense, and so we definitely need to be aware of all the different ways that femininity can express itself, or at least females can express themselves in maybe a masculine way a little bit, in this kind of fierce, protective, active sense. So so definitely focus on that, or think about that kind of protectiveness today. If you might be feeling extra protective since Mars is aspecting this moon as well. If I can point to this, it's a little mirrored for me, so it's hard to see, but you can see that MA up in the top corner is Mars, and Mars is the planet of protecting those who we love. So when Mars is aspecting the moon like it's doing right now, it's almost direct, as you can see, 10 degrees, and the moon, or 10 degrees, and you can see the moon down there is at like 6. So its moon is catching up to this direct aspect, direct opposition from Mars. I'll do this because that's the right angle. And what that shows is that we might be feeling a little more fierce, a little more aggressive, a little more protective. And maybe we're feeling a little more assertive in the ways that we deal with relationships and our partners, as the moon represents, our connection to other people, and primarily we experience that through our closest relationships. So those who are really near and dear to you, and your ability to connect with them might be hindered a little bit by this sense of aggression and angstiness that Mars can really bring. So it's a good day to remind yourself, if you have a tendency towards Martian qualities like aggression or anger, you can kind of tone it down a little bit, knowing that it's the planets. It's not just you. You're not going crazy or anything. It's just, this is part of living in a solar system. These are the biggest objects, and they influence us these ways. So we can kind of use that to our advantage by toning down the aggression, toning down the anger, or using that to our advantage when we need to protect ourselves or defend others. And whatever's going on in your day, it's going to be a little different for everyone. And then in terms of, let's talk about some other stuff here. I want to show you next, I think it's a good time to show you what it looks like, or what section of the sky it's in. So I'm going to switch screens here so you can check out the sky map. I love doing this part. And this is one of my favorite things about Vedic astrology or sidereal astrology in general, is because it's actually aligned with the stars. So it shows our deep connection with the actual asterisms or sections of the sky where these planets are, especially the moon. So I'm going to go back a little bit and show you. And Mula is actually this end tail of Scorpio. It's called like the cat's eye in a way. So you can see that the moon is directly above that on its path through the sky, which is this orange line, the ecliptic. Oh, you know what? Maybe you might not be able to see it because I forgot to do that part. Okay, there we go. So if you look there, you can see that the moon is, I apologize about that, the moon is directly above these three kind of stars, this little, the tail of the scorpion, as you can see here. And the tail of the scorpion is, obviously the stinger. It's where we kind of can get into trouble, and that's that fierceness on a day like today. There's a lot of fierceness in this section of the sky in general, so it can lend itself towards harsh actions and harsh behavior, for better and worse. But it's really the beginning of Sagittarius, as you can see the little teapot over here, as the moon travels across this orange line in the sky, which we call the ecliptic. So and I'll zoom out a little bit so you can see, what's kind of above it. Oop, there. So you can see kind of the night sky above it. There's Hercules and Cygnus, and it's going to be different depending on where you are in the world, is what's above and below. But this is kind of generally what it looks like from here in the United States. So let me go back. Hi, Palak. Thanks for joining us today. All right. Now, I'm going to go back and change windows. Excuse me for a second. There's Parashara's Light. And it's the software that I use is called Parashara's Light, because Parashara was kind of the godfather of Vedic astrology, or modern Vedic astrology. And so we use Parashara's text that he spoke to one of his disciples in order to kind of assess a lot of these things. But it is very largely related to Mesopotamian-rooted astrology, or Greek astrology, as we know here in the West. So that being said, let's go back and talk about just some of the factors on today. So there's kind of a healing aspect to today. This sense of going to the root can be going to the root of a problem in our life, And that there we can find, any sort of issues or concerns that we can route out, and kind of scoop out with that kind of intensity of today. So it might be a good day for taking medicine or performing some sort of healing ritual on ourselves or other people. It's a great day for investigation for those same reasons, because we're getting to the bottom of something. We're getting really interested in research and diving down to the truth. Truth is a key word for Mula. Mula likes to, Mula energy when the moon's in Mula, or when any other planet's in Mula, that part of us that everyone has, that's, since we're all born here, we all have a little bit of Mula in us. It's that part of us that really wants to be guided by truth and can get a little extreme about it and, just righteous about the truth. And that's oftentimes a really good thing. It can be difficult, in society when we're dealing with other people that aren't necessarily aligned with truth, but it's something to be aware of and something to work on today. It can help us to see reality for what it is. And there's this aspect of Kali that relates to, her Kali's dance. Kali dances, and her dance is known to destroy the illusions in our lives. And that means, to kind of take away all of those sugar-coated outside covers and get us to look deep down and really see kind of, the beauty and the ugliness, and understand that they're both a part of life and integral to life. And that goes for, visual aesthetics, that goes for our inner character, and all these different aspects. It really helps us to work on ourselves when we're able to look at ourselves truthfully and destroy those illusions, thanks to Kali or Durga. In terms of, let's just go. I think we're ready for, I'll talk about the symbol first, and then I'll talk about auspicious and inauspicious vibes and activities. So the symbol is actually a bunch of roots tied together. And, as I've been saying, that kind of relates to this whole, diving down. This energy can also deal with, breaking apart those things in order to find the truth within them. So, you might need to fix your vacuum cleaner, and you want to unscrew it on a day like today and really get in there and figure out how it actually works, and maybe put a new belt on or something like that. Or just as an example, a lot of kids are known to break their toys if they have planets in Mula, or rip them apart because they want to know what the heck's in there. Is there stuffing? Is there gold? Who knows? So there's this aspect of diving deep and digging in a way that relates to today. And it's funny because the animal associated with Mula, the kind of sexual energy in a way, the yoni, is the male dog. So digging is very appropriate for that as well. And then let's see here in my notes. In terms of our strengths and weaknesses, we feel extra strong and empowered to face adversity on a day like today, because we kind of understand the core concepts of things. There's a sense of persuasiveness that is heightened on a day like today. That could also be manipulation, but I wouldn't recommend going down that road. Just because when you understand the inner workings of social relationships or relationships in general, then you can kind of manipulate them a little bit more. But at least let's do it for the better of each of us and all of us together. It makes us more careful and clever. On a day like today, let's see, we're more success-oriented and just learned in general, and more spiritually inclined. It's a good day for spirituality. Not like any day isn't, but it's a good day for spirituality because it allows us to understand the root of our beliefs and our principles. And when we live by them and when we live through them, then our life hopefully has more structure and stability and truth. And then in terms of more the shadow sides, we can feel a lack of appreciation from others, because sometimes when we get down to the crux of the matter, we see that there's not as much maybe appreciation or respect, maybe the respect that we deserve or are looking for in our relationships and whatnot. And that goes for all different relationships, not just sexual or partners or anything like that. It can make us more arrogant with this sense of principled nature and knowledge. We can be more destructive and self-destructive in that regard, for better or worse. This energy can make, on a day like today when the moon's in Mula, we can be more stubborn. We can be a little more arrogant and selfish and have a little more tendency towards anger. And yeah, that's basically the gist of it. And then in terms of favorable activities, getting to the root of any matter, gathering knowledge or information is very auspicious. It's a great time to do any sort of herbal practices, medicinal practices, things like that, healings. It's a good time to garden and focus on agriculture and, just in general the root aspect, and, maybe laying foundations of a house or planting seeds, those kinds of things. It's a good day for being forceful, actually, believe it or not. That can be, take that with a grain of salt. You don't want to get too forceful. It's a good day to be meditative, as if any day isn't. And then in terms of unfavorable activities, any sort of diplomacy or diplomatic actions, anything that requires some sort of transactional nature where we're trying to balance our needs and other people's needs in more of a desirous way, or we're, it's just not a great day to purchase things. It's not a great day to lend or borrow money. It's not a great day to work on negotiations and any sort of thing that requires this sense of diplomacy. It's much more of a harsh, sharp day to get the point across or to preach our truth. Sagittarius has a lot to do with this preaching energy and this proselytizing in a way. So it can lend itself much more towards this one directional conversation rather than an equal kind of footing or this equal balance in our all different aspects of our lives. So those are some things to keep in mind. And then I'm gonna look how do I find Mula. So Mula, M-U-L-A, is how you would spell it. And in a natal chart, it's just going to be any part of the 0 to 13 degrees and 20 minutes of Sagittarius, just answering the Queen of Wands question. Definitely a great day for shadow work. She asked if it's a good time for shadow work. And so that beginning, almost half, but 13 degrees and 20 minutes, not the full 15 for Mula in Sagittarius. That's where you know if you have planets there or not, and that's going to be within a sidereal chart. So a star-oriented chart as opposed to the tropical system. So if you're using a tropical system and you want to know where Mula is, it's going to be in the end of Sagittarius and the beginning of Capricorn. So that's another way to look at it. And the zodiacs, just to give you an idea, the average sidereal zodiac is usually 24 degrees behind the Western zodiac in this day and age. So 24 degrees behind the tropical zodiac. And that's because we have this thing, the Earth wobbles once every 26,000 years. So if you look at the tilt of the Earth and you just freeze frame it in time, if you just look at it once a year, because throughout the year it's going to be moving like this. But over 26,000 years, if you just look at it say in the summer or the winter, just one point in time, over time it's going to do this kind of, here, I'll do it here because you can see a little better, but the top of the Earth will wobble, that axis. And that's because, who knows why, there's a number of hypotheses on oh, thanks for coming, Queen. I really appreciate that. But yeah, that ends up making the spring equinox move kind of forward in time. And so the tropical zodiac is actually moving with regards to the stars in the sky, whereas the sidereal zodiac is based on the stars in the sky. So it doesn't move except for when the actual stars in the sky move, which is the fastest moving star in the sky is Sirius B, and that moves about the width of one moon from our perspective, one distance of one moon in the sky. every 50,000 years. So this whole science of astrology has come within the time in which the fastest moving planet, or star, in the entire sky is able to move the distance of one moon in the sky. So not very much. There's the sidereal zodiac's pretty much exactly the same, and so that energy is mostly the same. There's my little spiel on that, my moolah getting to the crux of the matter. So I hope you like this forecast. You can see that I added this here. It's going to be in moolah until 12:45 a.m. on May 1st. Can you believe it's almost May? And I hope you have a great day, and thanks for coming, and I appreciate the comment, Queen. That means a lot to me. And thanks to everyone else for coming and watching this. I hope you got a lot out of it. Please give me a thumbs up if you did, and leave a comment in the chat or in the comment section below. Subscribe if you want to see more of these, and I will catch you on the flip side. Take care. See you tomorrow. Peace.